Record.
Hi guys, I'm Mike Hege with Pridemore Properties. Today we're doing a Zoom video recording our Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and just sharing what's going on in the market. So I am going to give another intro to our Facebook audience. This was just the pre-video so we could start recording what we were doing, and you'll definitely see more as we continue to move forward. So we are going to go live here, and I'm hopeful that it'll be a good session, and we'll have some good Q&A at the end. So let's see if we can get both of these live. And I'm going to next do Instagram, and then I'm going to roll into Facebook. Hi guys, Mike Hege with Pridemore Properties. I'm coming to you live. We are doing a Zoom video recording, and I'm coming to you on Instagram, also about to go on Facebook. So you're going to see me introduce myself again to talk about the status of the market, talk about a lot of cool things, and also do Q&A. So I'm going to be looking at multiple cameras, doing this all at once, so I don't have to repeat and rinse and repeat. We can do it all at once. So bear with me as we do this again, and we're going to do another intro to our Facebook audience. So thanks for tuning in today, and hope everybody's well. Here we go. Hey guys, I am going live today at noon, as we've posted before, and right now I am in the process of Instagram Live as well as a Zoom recorded phone call to record everything and put that in a video for later. We're going to be doing some Q&A today and walking through several important topics. So I just wanted to preface that by letting you know that I am on multiple platforms right now, and we're going to be taking questions and answers at the end. So ultimately, thanks again for tuning in. I know that it has been an unprecedented time in history. And so many people with the growing coronavirus pandemic are ultimately, just scared. First and foremost, want to know that I sincerely understand, and also, we send out our love and support. So wanted to make sure that you knew that sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and also know that we continue to service your real estate needs. We're doing that, and we're adjusting as this past week, we've continued to get so many calls and emails. Hey, are you still in business? Or, hey, what's going on out there in the marketplace? And so we thought we'd address that and make sure that we have a chance to talk about that openly. We'll also go through a little bit of, what you can do while you're at home to increase your home's value and projects around the house. I'm just going to wave to a couple people that have joined on. Thank you guys so much on Instagram for joining in. Thank you so much for Facebook joining in. And we're also recording this, our live video via Zoom. So we're going to get the benefit of all three of those platforms. So ultimately with our buyers right now, we are taking virtual, conversations out there in the United States Department of Homeland Security, as well as the North Carolina has deemed real estate brokerage services as essential services during this time of crisis. So we are practicing real estate. However, in our local Mecklenburg County, they have restricted even further, which we have to abide by. So we have the ability to go under contract with properties. And once we're under contract, then we can physically walk through them. So we do have some limited mobility there that we'll get to in a sec. But ultimately, that's the first thing to know. For buyers, we're taking Zoom virtual consultations and talking to folks. If you are considering purchasing a home, investing in real estate, be tuned for be on the lookout for a virtual home buying seminar that'll be coming up soon. So we're going to be going over that with future posts, and we'll have our mortgage lender and some experts in the field to jump on that as well. But ultimately, between the Zoom video conferencing, the digital video walkthroughs, we also have an exclusive addendum that was created that gives a buyer no risk, virtually no dollars on the initial deposit, so that they can move forward in confidence with the property. Literally, to some degree, sight unseen, but the physical walkthrough would happen after they go under contract. So a little unique process there, but we are excited that we have that in place to protect as a buyer. From a seller standpoint, we're also doing Zoom. Facebook, doing consultations, as well as either FaceTime or Facebook video or Zoom video walkthroughs to the property. Media is also an essential service in our local government from the order. So we're ultimately able to have media, photography, video, virtual tours, all happen on the property. We do a high definition virtual tour with the property that allows buyers to take a look, virtually, either with virtual reality or what have you. Also exterior drone and walkthrough video. That is all part of that service. We also have mobile notaries and remote closings if needed. So we are following a strict protocol as outlined by the CDC of social distancing practices and so on and so forth. So we're taking it very seriously, but we also recognize that people still have a fundamental need to buy and sell a home. And so if you're considering selling, I would say, ultimately go down to the why of why are you wanting to move in the first place. If you're building a home, or whether that be you're moving for a school district or more space or more opportunity or closer to the city or whatever the reason is, ultimately there's some powerful reasons that will not change over time. So I would consider, making a short-term problem and not making a long-term decision based on that solely. So looks like our Facebook Live might have popped off here. So we're going to go back live. Gotta love when we're having technical difficulties. So something must have clicked, and here we are going back live. So if you're watching on Facebook, sorry, you'll have to connect and reconnect, but we're working through that right now. So anywho, and we'll continue to move forward. And also, Virginia, thanks for jumping on there. You can do virtual consultations for staging. So thanks for sharing that as well. So we are walking through that process a little unique, but we are working through it together. So really, also today, want to talk about if you are in a home and if you are sequestered at home, some things you can consider doing around the house. Or ultimately, and I've got kind of a short list here. This comes off the top of my mind. Decluttering, it's maybe time to clean out the garage since you're at home. Also, if you're considering the next 30, 60 days, which we believe, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But ultimately, we hope that things will continue to get better as time goes on. And we're thinking, May, June, July, August, but 30, 60, 90 days in that window of time, certainly by fourth quarter, things will, hopefully have rebounded. And really at the forefront of our minds is making sure that the virus is stopped, that the pandemic slows, and that we're following the protocol and taking it very seriously during this time. But if you're at home, again, cleaning vents and baseboards, using a microfiber cloth, kind of getting down and getting those areas where maybe it's been a while since you've gotten down, changing out the filters. A really pro tip is if you're changing out the filters, always write the date on the filter, because when buyers tour the home closer to the time period, they're going to look up and look at the air register, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, that date, it looks like they really maintained their HVAC unit, and they're on top of it. So that'd be something to consider, as you're continuing to do things at home and improve the appearance. Replacing any light bulbs, walking through the house as if you were going to stay at a hotel. And what I mean by that is, if you were walking through a hotel and you saw boxes everywhere in that room, and you saw an overabundance of pictures, and it wasn't clean, it had a funny smell, you'd be instantly turned off. You'd run outside, you'd go talk to the manager and say, hey, you know what? I need you guys to clean this place up. This looks terrible. Well, buyers are making judgments as well. And a lot of studies have shown the first 8 seconds of them getting outside of the car, walking inside of the house, they're already judged whether or not they're going to buy the home or not. And this is based on cleanliness, curb appeal. Obviously, the external variables are the neighborhood, price, school district, what have you. But it's something to consider about making sure that the home is clean, and it's something that you want to stay on top of. Wall hangings and kind of redoing anything that's maybe time to put up new artwork or kind of clean up that particular area. And right now, I know for us personally, we are outside putting out new mulch. We're putting out exterior landscaping. We're putting out a variety of different things in the yard to make it look good in terms of curb appeal. So I think it's one of those things that if you're doing things to the home that make it look and pop and sizzle, that's what we're ultimately trying to accomplish right now. So, while you're at home, we are available for virtual consultations. And ultimately, during this time period, we want to be very proactive and making sure that, we're available to answer any questions about the market. I mean, right now there's, a lot of headlines that are in the media that, are ultimately just making it seem like everything's falling down. And the reality is that, as of today, just got our new market stats right here. And as of our metro Charlotte, North Carolina market, it's an expansive area. But as of today, there's 52 new listings. There was 56 that went under contract, and 93 have sold as of noon today. This is just today, just since this morning, which means there might be more to follow. If you're following our daily market stats, ultimately we'll continue to post those. But from that standpoint, I'll give you a couple quick stories about that. We have 2 closings today, thank goodness. They're all remote. We're physically not going to be there, but all the back end work has been, groundwork has been laid. So both, one is a buyer and one's a seller. Both are very ecstatic to move from this process of moving to their next goals and dreams. But actually, one of our teammates, very dear to our heart, her name is Megan. She's phenomenal. We are so glad she's on our team. Her and her husband, recently married, they are under contract with a home. And they were able to get a little bit better pricing, a little bit better concessions than they would have 3 weeks ago. So, if you're considering the time period of which to buy, or if you're considering a time period of which to sell, go back to the basic, why are you doing what you're doing? If you need more space, if you need a better school district, if you need closer to family, if you need closer to work, if you need to upsize or downsize, those whys do not change over time. So ultimately, it is a scary time out there right now with so much uncertainty, and we don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I can say that I really believe that things will get better. And by the end of the year, I think things will make a turn for the better. So I'm just hopeful that the vaccines and the social distancing and all those things play out that will, continue to make this better, not worse. So ultimately, bottom line, there's a lot of misinformation out there. If you want kind of the best advice of what's happening in the current real estate market and what's happening, shoot me a private message. Or we can answer these questions now. So I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to find out a little bit about what you guys might be interested. So on Instagram, I'm just going to find out what questions do you have. I'm just typing this in the search or the query here. Virginia says things are going to get better. I believe that too. I really do. Absolutely, I do. And I appreciate all of you guys joining in today on the live video. So looking back to see, hey, Joel, I appreciate you jumping in today. Shannon in Austin, Texas, thanks so much for joining in. Nikki, Lacey, thanks for joining in. And Tina, we've got a lot of great people here that have joined in live today. So ultimately curious, what type of questions do you have right now in the marketplace or otherwise? I'm here to answer, here to provide insight, and ultimately, just happy to serve, So it looks like we've got a question here. Let's see. So ultimately, the question is, what is now a good time to consider refinancing my home? And I would say that the market interest rates, I'm not a loan officer, so our loan partners would be able to better answer that question. But I will say that interest rates hitting an all-time lows in the past few weeks, a lot of folks are deciding to stay where they're at and refinance, and it is not a bad time to consider. The why to do that kind of goes into lowering the interest rate, of course, and the payment, shortening the term of your loan. If you're a 30-year loan fixed and you want to go to a 15-year and pay it off sooner. Sometimes, although I don't really advise a cash out refinance, but some people want more cash. So that's something to consider. If you're looking to, using the equity for investing in something else like a children's education, a business venture, possibly an investment property, those are the reasons people do that, or just sit on more cash. But the big question is, what is it going to cost? And so if you're not going to stay in the property for at least 5 years, and in general, I wouldn't consider a refinance unless it was at least probably a full percent, if not 3/4%. That would be kind of the right range where if you're going to live there at least 5 years, you're going to drop it a whole percent, or you're going to change the loan structure and expedite, accelerate payments. There are no cost refinance loans when the lender pays for the closing costs, but the lender makes up for this difference by rolling into the mortgage. So usually there's a slightly higher interest rate, but there's 3 ways that those closing costs can be paid for a refinance or for a loan in general. One is the mortgage. Generally speaking, the buyer would be responsible for their own closing costs. You can expect probably anywhere from 2 to 4% of the loan amount. And, so I would expect anywhere from, $3,500 on the low end to probably $6,500 in that range, depending on the type of loan, terms, et cetera. But ultimately, that's the fee that you're going to absorb and you're going to pay for. So that's real hard money at the closing table. Or it'll come out of the cash that you have built up in your home and the equity, right? That's a possibility as well. Or the lender can pay for it, but they are going to, as we mentioned earlier, going to have a higher interest rate. So, ultimately you have to do the math and just decide if it's a personal decision on whether or not to do refinance or not. As a related topic, there is a lot of conversation right now going on about if you have lost your job, if you've been furloughed, and if you are, ultimately struggling to make a mortgage payment. That's a real conversation that some folks are having right now. And I would just say that talk with your lending institution first and foremost. That's something to keep in mind, but also consider that a forbearance could be a possibility. They generally do not, doesn't affect your credit, generally speaking. Again, check with your own lender. But also, it is going to tack on potentially 90 days at the end of the loan term, and there is accrued interest, just like any other forbearance. So that has to be qualified as a qualified event. There's a lot more leniency right now for a variety of reasons we won't get into here. But again, I would say talk with your lending institution first and foremost and decide, is that the right move for you right now? Can you really not make the payment? Are you really struggling? Then I would look at that as a potential option. So great questions about refinancing and mortgage interest rates. Let's see if there's any other questions. I'm just going to look real quick on Facebook here and see what questions we might have. So it looks like, will things get better? I would say the answer is yes. I think a historical perspective, I lived through 2008. Just so you know, as a broker, I got in 2005, 2006. As many of you know, I was a nursing professional, an RN prior to going into real estate. And ultimately, for me, I've seen ups and downs in the market. I think, right now, will things get better? The short answer is yes. Do we know when? No. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball, but we can say that ultimately things historically have gotten better. People bounce back. A lot of times there's so many there's so much going on in the media. I read an article, it was just this past week, but the Goldman Sachs forecasted the largest drop in GDP in almost 100 years. It sounds like Armageddon, like things are falling apart. And the projection is that we're going to have a tough first half of this year, but the economy will bounce back in the second half. And ultimately, historical analysis for pandemics, and I'm quoting here John Burns Consulting on pandemics, the economy and home values. They concluded, and I'm reading this quote, historical analysis showed us that pandemics are usually V-shaped, sharp recessions that recover quickly enough to provide little damage to home prices and some very cutting edge search engine analysis by our information management team has showed the current slowdown is playing out similarly thus far. Ultimately, the economy is going to bounce back, but the next few months, this is an unprecedented, uncharted territories, and every day a new report comes out. So unfortunately, there have been real deaths through this pandemic, and we're being sensitive to that fact. So I really think it's one of those things we want to make sure we're on the same page with, we're following and practicing ourselves in social distancing, only going out if we have to, abiding by the local order. We are considered essential, as I mentioned earlier, with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, as well as North Carolina, our local state. However, a local Mecklenburg County is an overlay that's more restrictive, so we are abiding by that local order. And so anyway, I am here to help. I appreciate everyone jumping on. I was scrolling through to see if there's any more comments. Again, I appreciate everybody that was able to join on today. So yeah, Virginia, I was an ER nurse. I enjoyed time down, was now named as Atrium. It was a very level 1 trauma center, had some phenomenal colleagues there that I still keep in contact to this day. So I did enjoy my time as a nurse. I'm very privileged and proud to be in real estate after 15 years. But you know, ultimately, I try to take those same translatable skills of bedside manner, genuine empathy and care, and ultimately making sure that I'm here to answer any questions and walk through that process, just as I would during that time. So again, I appreciate everybody who's able to join on. You know, I really do can't thank everyone enough. Fortunately, the information that we're coached by the largest you know, coaching company that's on the planet. We have a phenomenal ecosystem of sharing information and staying cutting edge. So every day we're looking at those reports. Every day we're updating the market status and making sure that we're staying very relevant and out in front of this and what we're pivoting and how we're adjusting to the marketplace. So again, your local Charlotte, North Carolina realtor here, Mike Hege with Pridemore Properties. I appreciate you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I hope you and your family and your loved ones stay safe. You stay healthy. And if I can do anything or answer any questions offline, send me a message, and look forward to, you know, hopefully interacting with you guys soon. All right, till next time, take care.